Hey classes, Mr. Hayes here on Thursday, April 1st. Hope everyone's had a good day so far. At this point in today's asynchronous module, you should have completed your Frederick Douglass reading and done the required task along with that for discussion on Monday when we're back together. For right now, though, you have moved on to my mini lesson video on the status quo. Some people might know what that phrase means already. If you don't, this lesson will tell you more about that. If you do already, it might add to your prior knowledge about it. So first here at the top, we understand historical perspective, and we discussed historical movements yesterday with political, social, economic. We understand what's going on in this moment in time in your time period by first understanding what the status quo is. The status quo is a Latin phrase meaning the existing state of affairs, especially with regard to social or political issues. So it boils down to how things currently are, both socially for people and how they interact with each other, and politically, what legislation's being passed, what are our leaders who are in power preaching and upholding. How are things currently going and operating in society prior to the change or evolution that's about to happen? So in the sociological sense, meaning how people interact with each other, it applies to maintaining, keeping the existing social structure, who's on the top, who's on the bottom, who's in the middle, and values. What should you do? What shouldn't you do? So it maintains how things currently are. To maintain the status quo is keeping things the way they presently are with that same power structure, those same values, and how socially and politically things are remaining the same. So what you want to think about in your time period is how are things currently going? What is America like before the stock market crashed for the Great Depression? What is the typical life of an African American in the North or the South before the civil rights movement gained a lot of momentum? How did America approach Vietnam before we got involved in that war with so many troops and so much investment? Or what was Vietnam like throughout its history before America became part of that cause? What is the status quo? Establishing that is crucial before you can understand the change and progress that will follow. I've got some guiding questions I think will help you as you look out for what the current status quo is and how it's starting to change in your time period. So, first, what is the status quo? We talked about that already. This is a really important question. Who is a victim? Who is suffering because of the lack of progress and lack of change in society? Who is being victimized by the fact that they are at the bottom of the totem pole and they have to stay down there? They don't have the same rights and ability to move up as other people do. Who wants to keep this status quo the same? Who has power and wants to have a stranglehold on that power and not give it up? What groups of people, what politicians, what leaders, in some cases, what racial groups have the power and want to keep it? And then who wants to change it? The flip side of that. Who's looking to create more fairness, more balance, a more just society, and wants to change the status quo? So today, as you read, you can reflect on what the status quo currently is in your time period, or how that status quo is starting to evolve and how it's starting to change. So you are going to, for your weekend homework, focus in on the weekend 331 to 42 slides, which I think should be, I'm correct here, this should be a different date. Yep, I'm going to change that for you guys right now. This should be 4-1 to 4-3. Here we go. And how I would kind of start this if I was looking to complete a row on the status quo in my time period is I could go one of two ways. I could do either I noticed the status quo of society was, so how are things currently going? Or if you're starting to see change, you can start with I noticed that the status quo in society changed when. So these sentence stems might help you. Once you've established one of these, you're going to reflect in a couple sentences on why it's important to your time period. Why is the status quo vital to understanding how people lived, or how has the change that you're starting to see and the status quo changing, how is that really vital to the different ways that society is going to have to move forward now? And then, of course, kind of like we did with our images on the first day of the unit, what questions are coming up in your mind now? You understand that things are starting to change. What questions do you have about where this could be headed moving forward? Or if things are not changing yet, what questions do you have about what people are going to do to try to promote that change later on, or why there hasn't been change? so far in your society. You can go many different ways with this row. If you'd like to do a status quo row or a couple, feel free. If you want to focus more on those political, social, economic movements from yesterday, you may do that as well. Or you could do anything you'd like. I'm leaving this open ended. Anytime you see a moment in your book that you feel is important, interesting, make it into a row. This is all that you have to do for your weekend homework is complete. This slide and finish your LDG reading. If you have any questions, email me, send me a Google chat. I will have my phone by my side today. Don't hesitate to ask. Thanks, everybody.